All right, today's lesson is lesson 3.7, which is dividing fractions and mixed numbers. So in lesson 3.6, we were multiplying fractions, which all we did was multiply the numerator and then multiply the denominator, and that was our answer. So today it's a little bit different. When we are dividing fractions, we actually are going to use something called the reciprocal or multiplicative inverse. Okay, so the reciprocal is this. If you have the number 3, the reciprocal is 1 over 3. So the reciprocal is just the fraction flipped upside down. If we did that with another number that's not just a whole number, like say 2/3, the reciprocal of 2/3 is 3 over 2, 3 halves. So, knowing what a reciprocal is, remember it is just the fraction flipped over. So, reciprocal of 2/3 is 3 halves. When we divide with fractions, we actually divide, when we divide fractions, what we're actually doing is multiplying the fraction by the reciprocal of the other fraction. So that sounds very confusing, I'm sure. So let's write out some notes in word form and then I'll give you some examples. So this is our rule for this chapter section. Dividing by a number is the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. For example, 6 divided by 3 equals 2. So if we apply this rule to this equation, 6 times 1 over 3 should also equal 2. And it does. So 6 times 1 is 6, and 3 times 1 is 3, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. Okay, so dividing by a number is the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. So we can't just multiply the two fractions, we actually have to find the reciprocal of the divider and then multiply. So take a minute to write this down. And then we will do an example. Okay, example 1A is the following. It has 2/3 divided by 1/5. So what we're going to do is find the reciprocal of this and multiply it by this. So we have 2/3 times, and our reciprocal, remember we just flip-flop the fraction, is 5 over 1. Now, 5 times 2 is 10. 3 times 1 is 3. Now, how do we put that into simplest form? Well, we can't make that any smaller, but what we can do is write it as a mixed number. So 10 over 3 equals, 3 goes into 10 3 times, and there's 1 left over to get 3 1/3. So let's try another problem. Example 1b gives us 3/5 divided by 6. Remember, we take our divisor and we find its reciprocal. So that's 3/5 multiplied by 1/6. When we multiply fractions, we multiply the numerators, which is 3, then we multiply the denominators, which is 30. And we can simplify that because 3 goes into 3 one time, and it goes into 30 10 times, and our answer is 1/10. So 3/5 divided by 6 equals 1/10. Okay, now, what if our problem starts with a mixed number? For example, if we have the problem 4 1/3 divided by 2 1/2. Well, the first thing we would need to do is take our mixed numbers and turn them into fractions. So 4 times 3 is 12, plus 1 is 13, so 13/3 divided by 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5/2. Now we apply our rule for dividing fractions, and we know that 13/3 times 2/5 is equal to 13/3 divided by 5/2. So if we do this multiplication out, that's going to give us 26/15. And of course, we would want to simplify that. So 26/15 is going to equal, well, 15 goes into 26 once. So we're going to have 1. And then we're going to have 11 left over. So 11/15. And if you check your answer in the book, for example 2a, our answer is actually 1 11/15. So, pat on the back, you did it right. All right, let's do example 2b. So, example 2b, it says 5/6 divided by 7 1/7. Again, with the mixed numbers, we have to put them into fraction form. So that gives us 5/6 divided by, well, 7 times 7 is 49, plus 1 is 50/7. We apply our rule of dividing fractions, and we multiply 5/6 by the reciprocal of the divider. So that gives us 5/6 times 7/50. 5 times 7 is 35, and 6 times 50 is 300. Now, we can do it that way, or we can apply the rules we know about multiplying fractions and simplify this. 5 goes into 5 once, 5 goes into 50 10 times. That gives us 7/60. And since 7 is a prime number, we cannot go any smaller than that. Okay, one more example. And then I will give you a think and explain question. So, example 2c gives us 4 4/5 divided by 6/7. So first we need to turn our mixed number into a fraction. So 5 times 4 is 20, plus 4 is 24 over 5, divided by 6 over 7. We need to apply our rule of dividing fractions, and 24 over 5 times 7 over 6 should be the equivalent. Now, you can either simplify here before we multiply, or multiply out and simplify. We do know that 6 goes into 24 4 times. So 4 times 7 is 28, and 5 times 1 is 5. We need to simplify this. 5 goes into 28 5 times, with 3 remainder. So our answer should be 5 3/5. Okay, we have one last question, and you'll need to put the answer in your notebook. And that is for the think and discuss questions. It says to tell me whether or not 1/2 divided by 2/3 is or is not equal to 2 times 2/3. Okay, so I want you to look at that, tell me is it or is it not equal to, and then explain to me why. So put that in your notebook, and then you can get started on your homework.